We work with hundreds of thousands of people who are entering the tech industry to help them learn all of the skills that they should be learning in the classroom, but they're not because curriculum is slow and outdated.
Oh, yeah.
And so we bring them together in a community format to build real things with their friends and with the mentorship of DevRel folks and use that to level up their skills and begin their careers. In the metrics-driven world that so many DevRel people live in. I'll tell you, like when I was doing developer evangelism at Twilio, most of my biggest wins, whether those were new customer relationships or just developers that became lifelong friends or fans of Twilio, came about in a very indirect, organic way. Like you're at that meetup, they're struggling with a problem. It has nothing to do with your API. You help them, you create an impression, right? Like you create a moment that is memorable. And I know that that kind of stuff is difficult to measure, but that has way more lasting value than a click through on an ad. My hot take right now is that it is the best time to be an engineer, not the worst time. All the crap in the press is doom and gloom about engineers being replaced by AI. And like, I get it. These tools write better code than I do a lot of the time. It doesn't matter. That's not what being an engineer is about. That's not what being a DevRel person is about. It's about problem solving and translating user needs into complex architecture in a way that is maintainable and reproducible and understandable by a large organization. And that is something that AI helps with, but like, I think that there is a human element of building good software, building good products that is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And that folks have way more ability to build software that can change the world now than they ever have before. And I don't buy the doom and gloom.
Let's go! Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So I'm here at DevRelCon at the heart of the innovation in terms of developer relations, where all the conversations are happening around how do we connect with developers? How do we understand the problems they're having? And how can we connect them with benefits and solutions and better outcomes with whatever tools and companies that we're trying to represent here? But at the end, we're also humans, just trying to connect with humans. And I'm here with John. He works at the Major League Hacking, right?
Yep.
And I'm just gonna, I like to open with this question because it's a great way for you to introduce yourself. Like, let's say I'm an outsider. I do not know anything about tech. I've never been in an event. I do not know anything about whatsoever AI or anything of the topics being talked around this event. So how would you explain to a person outside, let's say a doctor or whatever, what did you do for a living?
Well, as a founder, I do a lot of random things, everything from taking out the trash to, helping someone debug. But
Yeah.
Major League Hacking is really where the next generation of technologists are grown. We work with hundreds of thousands of people who are entering the tech industry to help them learn all of the skills that they should be learning in the classroom, but they're not because curriculum is slow and outdated.
Oh, yeah.
And so we bring them together in a community format to build real things with their friends and with the mentorship of DevRel folks and use that to level up their skills and begin their careers. There's a lot of different ways we do that, but at a high level, it's really about helping people level up and get started.
That's beautiful. I have a story about community. So when I started my first job after I graduated from computer science, I was a small shop, a small digital agency. And when I got the interview with one of the founders, he said like, part of the job is that we use a CMS called Drupal, which is an open source CMS. So when we hire you, we're not forcing you to do that, but we like to contribute back to the community. It was my first job. I was 19 years old. Obviously, I said yes because I needed the job. But I remember that maybe after 2 weeks of being hired, he told me like, you remember what you said? We have the monthly meetup and we want you to go and start connecting with people. I did new PHP, HTML, whatever, but not Drupal. I was just getting started with it. So I went to the event and I was just talking after the event, the presentation with one guy. And he was asking me like, well, what are you doing with Drupal? I said, I'm just starting to learn. And he said like, what are the most complex things for you? And there was this topic in Drupal called AHA, which was just AEX with Drupal. And I said, I do not understand that thing at all. It's very complex for me. So he sit down with me, he explained stuff. And right after he explained to me, like I asked who you are, and I'm like, oh, I'm the chief technology officer for, it was a large company in Costa Rica, which is now acquired by Accenture. And that impacted me. Like he did not ask for any money. He did not ask for any credit whatsoever. And do not tag me or whatever. Like he just sat down with me and helped me. And I think that's the most beautiful story when it comes to community. And I think that's the most beautiful the things that are happening right now. So I wanted to ask, like, do you have any story that you can remember that impact you and say, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I get tired, because I know events are extremely tired. But can you tell me one of those stories that you can say changed your life?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my own origin story, and it's funny because it actually also involves Drupal
Oh,
unexpectedly. So I have a history degree. I actually don't have a computer science degree, and I had always loved technology, but I really didn't resonate with computer science as a discipline. It was a little bit too like mathy and theoretical. And I was in college getting my history degree, and I got mono, which is like every college student gets mono at some point, but like I felt terrible. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a semester off, like medical leave, whatever.
okay.
And I went home to suburban New York, and I felt better a month later, and I was bored out of my freaking mind. And so I went on Craigslist.
Mm.
I was like, how can I make money as a college student that's home for a semester? And it turned out there was a ed tech startup a block from my parents' house in suburban New York,
Oh, wow.
built entirely on Drupal. And I applied on Craigslist. I showed up in a suit, and everyone was wearing t-shirts because I had never seen a startup before. I had no idea what it was. And they hired me amazingly. I don't know why. And those people were all like kind of weird outcasts that were into ed tech. And they started dragging me along to all of these community events in New York. I had never met other developers before. I had never met anyone in the tech community. I didn't even know what a meetup was, frankly.
Yeah.
But they took me along and eventually convinced me to go to my first hackathon, which took a lot of convincing. I thought it was a terrible idea at the time. And it was this event called Music Hack Day.
Oh.
And I showed up, and going into this event, my only experience with tech was IRC and this tiny startup with like one other developer. So I really had very little exposure. And I walked into this room in New York City, and it was like 150 people. And it was this really interesting mix of developers, creative technologists, and musicians.
Wow.
So it was like, you off in the corner, there's like a girl with a guitar. Over there, there's like someone with a bunch of Arduinos. Over there, there's like someone on their laptop crouched over. And all of that coming together, like, blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I thought that being a developer was kind of like Dilbert, where you like sit in a cubicle and hate your life. And suddenly I was surrounded by all of these people who were there on the weekend to build stuff that they were passionate about with like no pretension and no business value at all.
Exactly.
And those people, like, when I got on stage and showed off my janky app that was like barely working, gave me a huge standing ovation. And they were coming up to me being like, that's so cool. Like, what are you going to continue doing with it? And that was like the spark that got me going into the tech industry, period. And really, it was a spark that eventually led to MLH, because I realized that tech was more than sitting in a cubicle solving these like obscure business problems.
Right.
It was like creative, it was multidisciplinary, and it was community focused. And that changed my entire course of my life.
That's a great story, and it does sounds like the Drupal community. Like that's the type of things you would expect.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. Big shout out to the Drupal community if they're somehow watching this. So transitioning from that experience into what Major League Hacking is right now, which is obviously a bigger group and it's managing different education efforts and events. How did that happen? Like, how did transition happen from that story when you started versus what it is right now? Because like you're literally owning the entire DevRel event that's happening right now.
Yeah. So a couple of years after that, I had graduated from college, and my co-founder Swift and I were working as developer evangelists. I was at Twilio, he was at SendGrid. We spent a lot of time together. We were speaking at the same meetups, going to the same conferences. And we knew we wanted to work together because this community, A, had changed our lives. Like, that was the thing that gave us our start. And B, we had built this really strong relationship, like as business partners. And we quit our jobs to work on MLH, and he did it about 6 months before I did.
Wow.
Because we saw that there was this like seed of something going on college campuses where we had to really get pushed to seek out the tech community. But there were these students that were getting together and coming to us for advice on how did they build the same thing where they are, right? And where they are often was like tiny college towns without a tech industry.
Right.
And so we could tell that there was something there, and it was something that we were personally passionate about, but also was starting to have a lot of excitement behind it. And that first year, there were maybe like 5 student hackathons on campus, but that really quickly ballooned to 40 events and then 100 and then 200. And, now we do like thousands of programs and events and communities. And it has become something that is ubiquitous for people entering the tech industry. And the thing that's most powerful about it is that it doesn't matter if you're studying computer science or history or an aspiring lawyer. Like, we provide a welcoming, inclusive space where you can come experiment with technology with other people who love building just as much as you do.
Right.
Like, a third of all computer science students in the US do our programs every year, whether that's hackathons, meetups, hack nights, whatever else.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we've been around for about 10 years now, and more than 1 million developers have gone through our programs. And so we start to see this sort of like self-propelling prophecy where all of the people who were in those early 5 hackathons or 40 hackathons are now leaders in the industry, and they're coming back to support the next generation of students as mentors, as sponsors, as employers. And I think that that is the future of the tech industry, to be totally honest, that like it is something that is primarily community driven and comes about through a multidisciplinary approach that is, in person and real.
Right. That's a great story. And it actually connects to also my story and the fact that all of these 15 years that I've been working in tech, I never applied for a job. Every time that I got connected with another company who were interested in what I knew at that time, it was through an event. And at some point I realized that when I was like in computer science, I was trying to get a formal university degree. I was 3 years in, and none of the things that I was learning there was any way or anyhow related to what I was actually doing in the business market, like actually working in tech. I was just learning all technology like Pascal and C++, which are extremely valuable for learning the basics of programming, but not, unfortunately, is not what the market was needing. So I just decided to focus on getting other type of degrees, some certifications, stuff like that. But what you said is really true. Like, formal education systems are really, really hard to keep up with how technology is moving. But the question that I'm trying to lead is, how is that changing with AI? Because right now, like, if things were going fast for universities or standard learning systems, and hackathons and this type of community-driven learning has been helping in that, how is that now shaping the future of events and how people are learning and adopt technology with AI?
Yeah. So I'm going to back up a step and get to that.
Okay.
I want to start with like why we do DevRelCon, and we'll tie that back to how AI is impacting education.
Yeah.
So MLH started hosting DevRelCon last year. This is our second one. We were involved with it as speakers, sponsors, volunteers for a long time before that. And what we realized is that the things that students need to learn largely come from industry. And the people who are at the forefront of teaching developers about industry tools are developer relations folks.
True.
And so you might go to class and learn, algorithms and ON and like whatever, right? Like all these foundational concepts. But when you go off into the job market, what you're actually doing is you're using Twilio or you're using Appsmith or you're using MongoDB.
Right.
Right. And DevRel folks are the ones who are going to teach you that.
Yeah.
And so MLH is like just inextricably linked with DevRel in that we think it is incredibly important for the next generation to know the tools that they are going to use when they go off into the industry. And we find that about 40% of our students after they graduate introduce the technology into production at work that they learned at an MLH program, typically a student hackathon.
Wow.
So that's staying with them for many years.
Yeah, it's true.
And so we started getting involved with DevRelCon more formally because we felt like it was really important that DevRel folks had a place to come together and elevate the discipline of DevRel. Mostly when we, DevRel people, go to conferences, we're there on behalf of our companies. We're staffing a booth. we're talking to customers, we're giving workshops and demos.
Yeah.
This is the only place I ever found as a DevRel person where I could come and not be on pitching my company, but instead think about like the meta craft of DevRel. Like, what is the strategy? What are the tactics? How do we collaborate as an industry? And, I think that's really important. And over the last 10 years, I've seen a lot of different themes come and go in DevRel. And the theme of the moment is AI, right? Like, that has totally changed the tech industry over the last year, 2 years.
Yeah.
And we've seen it change education as well. And, obviously everyone here is talking about how that impacts their work in DevRel.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, one of the big takeaways I have from DevRelCon is that the definition of what it means to be a developer is broadened.
Right.
And I've seen this myself. Like, I've gone to a handful of like vibe coding, like whatever, meetups, hackathons, things like that over the last year.
Yeah.
And the makeup of attendees looks different than any previous hackathon I've ever been to. And that's true at MLH events too. We're starting to see people come in where they know that they have a technical solution to a problem in their mind. They didn't have the skills to solve it before.
Yeah.
And AI is now enabling them to solve that problem. And so it's really making this stuff, I think, more accessible.
Yeah.
Because once you have that magic moment of building something, even if AI does it for you,
Yeah.
you're hooked and you start to dig deeper. And I think it's like the most powerful on-ramp we've ever seen into tech. Now, obviously, there's a lot of like things going on in the industry. Like, there's layoffs, there's budget cuts. It's really hard to get a job right now.
Yeah.
But like, our perspective and the trend that we are seeing in MLH is that students and really any professionals who learn to code with AI tools have a leg up, because now they have a superpower that even experienced engineers who have been out there for decades don't have. And that's not to say that those experienced engineers don't have important knowledge, but it gives the newcomers a way to differentiate, a way to move faster, a way to learn faster than ever before. And so a lot of our work is not necessarily about like, how do we teach people to vibe code the best vibe codey app? Like, that's part of it. That's cool. It's really like, how do we teach people to utilize these tools in a way that levels up their understanding of technology and computer science and allows them to like achieve their dreams faster?
Yeah, that's true. If let's say you have a magic wand,
Yeah.
you have unlimited resources, you have no problem with money, and you will have the chance to build something, whatever, if it's a product, community, whatever it is, in order to elevate the people in this space at the current time, in the current space as we're living right now, the economics, the AI adoption, whatever. Do you have anything in mind that you will say that this is how that will look like, that could help vibe coders who don't know anything about AI and people who have been in the industry for a long time and they know their techie savvy things, CI/CD pipelines and machine learning algorithms? Like, how will that look like?
Honestly, if I could wave a magic wand, I would want to see a world where every single person in every town and city in the world had access to a technical creative community, whether that's a hackathon, whether that's a meetup, doesn't matter. But like, the things that happen when you get together in person to talk about technology, I have never seen entirely replicated in any other field and in any other like modality.
Yeah.
There's this like magic moment at a hackathon where you're struggling with a problem and you like can get up in a room of 1,000 strangers
Yeah.
and raise your hand and be like, yo, like, does anyone know Arduino? And like 10 people will rush over to help you solve that problem. And that is such a unique experience that allows people to like get over that scary hump of like, I don't know what I'm doing, and quickly get to the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm part of something, like I feel like I'm in this as an insider, not an outsider.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone should have access to that. Like, that's really our mission at MLH, is to like give people access to this. And the way we describe it is like, we empower hackers.
Yeah.
We don't care what that means to you, but we want you to have access to that technology, that learning, and that community.
Wow, that's so powerful. Like, that's really powerful because it actually brings me to like over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing some product market research about some of the products we're doing at Appsmith. and I was talking to a large CTO of a large agency here in New York City and large in London, etc. Like it's a big company, whatever. And what he told me also impacted me. Like whatever you guys build, what you have to understand is you have to go and be in the community for these people, because if you want to build a product which basement is going to be prompt and people don't know how to elaborate in prompts, like people are going to judge your product on whatever they're capable of coming in their prompt. So literally you just have to go out there in the community and help them people. Like, and that's really impacted me, because that's true. You're not here to sell your product. You're here to help communities move forward. And when that happens, as a result, they might adopt your product or might not, because they might not be the fit. That's cool. But that's just an outcome of community-driven efforts. And as a human beings, just helping each other. And I think that's extremely powerful.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of that in the metrics-driven world that so many DevRel people live in.
Yeah.
But like, I'll tell you, like when I was doing developer evangelism at Twilio, most of my biggest wins, whether those were new customer relationships or just developers that became lifelong friends or fans of Twilio, like came about in a very indirect, organic way.
Yeah.
Like you're at that meetup, they're struggling with a problem. It has nothing to do with your API. You help them, you create an impression, right? Like you create a moment that is memorable. And I know that that kind of stuff is difficult to measure,
Yeah.
but that has way more lasting value than a click through on an ad.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, that's so powerful. So here we have on the table our branded spicy sauces.
Yeah.
That's Joseph and me in the bottle. It's called Hot Fix. And in order for you to get one, you will have to tell me.
I thought you were gonna say I have to like chug a bottle. I love spicy food, for the record, but
Oh, we had a video on our channel about the spicy challenge.
Yeah.
Joseph put me through on the level basic to hotness where I couldn't even speak and I was just crying. I'm not gonna put you to that, but you do have to tell me a spicy hot take about the industry, about AI, about whatever you feel right now, and you will get one of those bottles.
I have a lot of hot takes. I think my spiciest take right now is that I mean, I don't know, I feel like we already talked about this a little bit, but like my hot take right now is that it is the best time to be an engineer, not the worst time. All the crap in the press is doom and gloom about engineers being replaced by AI. And like, I get it. These tools write better code than I do a lot of the time. It doesn't matter. That's not what being an engineer is about. That's not what being a DevRel person about. It's about problem solving and translating user needs into complex architecture in a way that is maintainable and reproducible and understandable by a large organization. And that is something that AI helps with, but like, I think that there is a human element of building good software, building good products that is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And that folks have way more ability to build software that can change the world now than they ever have before. And I don't buy the doom and gloom. Like, I know there's like a difficult hiring market, but like, I think we're going to come out the other end of this, and it is going to be a boom in technology and in people becoming developers as their profession.
That's true. And what you said about like the market being extremely hard, I get it. It's hard, but also it's the best moment for anyone to start anything.
Yeah.
Like you don't need an actual formal company to do something. Like now you have all these tools that can help you understand how to feature a market or a niche and start doing everything yourselves. And again, coming back to a community that can support that, and us, we have to be there to support all these people who might be losing their job.
Yeah.
And not actually looking for a new job, but actually we can all get started their own service provider and start building stuff that they couldn't do before. So it's also like, yeah, it's a hiccup, but it's also an enablement for anyone.
I'll also say here, I'll give you one more hot take.
Sure.
I think companies use AI as a convenient excuse for market-driven budget cuts and layoffs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that half of what you read out there about like, oh, like all these people got laid off and they're being replaced by AI is BS.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're just saying that because it's the media narrative and it's easy. I don't necessarily believe that that is the reality of what's going on at those companies. And when I talk to engineering leaders, that's not what they say is going on.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a cognitive dissonance in like the reality of the situation. And the hiring market is bad, but I don't think it's bad because those jobs are being directly replaced by AI tools.
That's true. They're getting huge profits, huge gross margin, and yet they're just removing people from these positions. That's just a excuse to do that, definitely. Because that was one of the things I was talking with one of those interviews that I did. Like, is I don't see a better outcome in terms of speed when I'm using AI because I'm spending a lot of time tuning my prompts and just fixing what it came out with. I don't see as a leader in the digital space, I don't see like 50% less time to deploy a product for our customers. That's not the reality because we spend that time in other stuff, tuning the prompts, trying to improve it, writing our own prompts, guidance internally, etc. So it's not like there's a better outcome. It's just helping people and companies doing stuff differently. Uh, but I take your word. It's just definitely an excuse to do what they're doing, basically.
Yeah. We could have a whole conversation about like how AI actually helps
Yeah.
our jobs because I think you're right. It's not obvious in the way that people think it is.
That's true. Well, John, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you want to share to the community, to what's going on right now here at DevRelCon? Anything that comes to your top of your mind?
The thing I want to share is that uh, everyone who's out there who's technical, who works in DevRel, like whatever it is, go to a community event, go to a hackathon, go to a meetup, talk to someone who's just getting started, who has that like enthusiasm and excitement, and it will reignite your spark of what made you love tech in the first place. Uh, I just think it's like such a magical thing to go help someone debug for the first time. And it will remind you of why you got into this. And I think everyone needs that reminder every once in a while, especially when the industry is going through rocky times.
Yeah.
So get out there and actually talk to some developers and help someone new.
Excellent. With perfect that you also were the Drupal ecosystem, because I would like to close with the Drupal community slogan, which is comes for the software, stay for the community.
Love that.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you on the next one.